PD to Northbridge PD, LPS 7.
Okay, we are live. This is the inaugural meeting of the Northborough Traffic Safety Committee. I'm going to go ahead and read the Zoom intro, and then we can proceed to the agenda with election of officers. Pursuant to Chapter 2 of the Acts of 2023, an act relative to extending certain COVID-19 measures, this meeting will be conducted via remote participation. No in-person attendance by members of the public will be permitted. I'll go forward and start the election of officers. Do I hear any nominations for chair? Bill Pierce.
I'll volunteer if someone wants to nominate me.
Oh, Rachel, you're on
nominate
mute.
you, Bill.
I nominate Bill. Oh, did someone else do it?
I did.
You can second it, Rachel. How's that?
Okay. I second, sorry.
All right, I have a motion and a second. Any discussion? Hearing none, we'll do a roll call vote. Rachel?
Aye.
Kate?
Aye.
Chris?
Aye.
And Brian?
Aye.
All right, it's Bill. I'm assuming you're gonna volunteer and vote for yourself?
Yes.
Okay, look at that.
Questionable if I didn't, but
You rounded out the unanimous. Would you like to take it from here, Bill, and get your vice chair and your clerk?
sure. Is there anyone who is interested in being vice chair? Brian, you're interested?
Yeah.
Okay. So we need does anyone want to nominate Brian as vice chair?
I'll nominate Brian as vice chair.
Okay. Is there a second?
Second.
Okay. Roll call vote. I guess we'll go through a discussion first. Is there anyone else? No. Okay. Hearing none. Roll call vote. Rachel.
Aye.
Kate.
Aye.
Chris.
Aye.
Brian.
Aye.
And I'm an aye, so that's unanimous. Congratulations, Brian. Welcome. Is there anyone who would now like to be clerk?
I'll volunteer for clerk.
Okay.
You all have full-time jobs and I don't. I'm happy to do it.
Okay. Is there a nomination to nominate Rachel as clerk?
I nominate Rachel.
Okay. Second.
I'll second it.
Okay. Nominated by Brian, seconded by Chris. Roll call vote. Rachel.
Aye.
Kate.
Aye.
Brian.
Aye.
Chris.
Aye.
And I'm an aye, so it's unanimous. So we now have our officers. Thank you very much.
Congratulations, everyone.
That's 1 of 6 down for the day. So I guess the next thing is for the traffic safety committee mission. So Scott, I don't have that. Do you have it handy, or do you want to read it into the record?
I'm happy to read it for you, Mr. Chairman.
Okay, thank you.
Yep. So the temporary traffic safety committee made recommendations to the select board for adoption of a traffic safety committee. As part of those recommendations, a mission was provided, a mission statement. And the mission statement for this committee, the mission of the Northborough Traffic Safety Committee is to improve livability, drivability, accessibility, and all forms of pedestrian and intermodal transportation in Northborough.
Thank you, Scott. So I'm sure we'll probably put that up on the website for the public to view as well, so that everyone knows what our mission is here. Does anyone have any questions on that, Brian?
Can I just ask a question? How many people from the temporary committee are here? if any?
So I was on the temporary committee, Chris was, and Laura was. Laura was actually our chair.
And so is Rachel.
Oh, and Rachel was too. Sorry. Yeah. No,
No,
no.
I was not on the committee.
Yeah, I didn't think she was.
Oh, I'm so sorry. I thought you were.
No,
I'm
no,
sorry.
I did follow it. I have been following it, but I was not an official member.
Any other questions? If not, we'll move on to the next agenda item, which is figuring out a process for handling citizen inquiries. Scott or Chief Liver, I don't know if you gentlemen have any expertise on the technology side of the town, and what our capabilities are for this. Specifically, I'm thinking along the lines of, I know we can get things in via email, but the tracking of it.
So we have a interface portal with the public on the DPW's webpage where you can select different topics, and the email, it results in an email. It's a web form, but the email comes to a specific working group. That working group would be, my staff here in the office, and then we decide on appropriate treatment of the inquiries. So, an approach may be best to funnel the inquiries through staff to the committee, rather than what I would not want to see is something come into the website, go to 5 members, emails, and then all of a sudden there's a deliberation by accident.
Right.
That could be difficult to track and monitor. But I'm open to suggestions. Is essentially fill something out online and an email will go out. That's what we currently have available. Chief, do you have anything that you guys use, maybe a little different?
No, I apologize if you can't hear me, but I have been notified multiple times that I have an unstable internet connection. And for instance, Brian, you've been midstream on drinking your water now since we started. So it's I'm getting like every third word. So we have on our website, and we're about to launch a new, more user-friendly website where you can request traffic enforcement. So folks can just go on there and click what they are looking for: speed enforcement, the radar trailer signs, the portable signs, traffic enforcement, where it's needed. Can we use your driveway? And there's a little box for free text. When that gets filled out and submitted, that goes to one of the sergeants that's in charge of our traffic safety programs, and he puts it out with assignments to offices to try and to get everything is contingent on staffing and calls for service. If it's a busy day, we don't do much traffic enforcement at all. But whenever offices have downtime, they're expected to go out and do traffic enforcement. It's the #1 complaint we receive in town, and they know that. But so we do, and I believe that the web portal that Scott was talking about, if it's a police related issue, they forward it to us anyway. So the mechanism is there for people to file complaints. I know Scott's system is they'll get an answer in reply. Ours, you don't necessarily get an answer because it's usually a request for a service as opposed to, what are you doing about this? We get plenty of that on Facebook as it is. So.
Okay, thank you. I think, go ahead, Rachel.
Oh, I'm sorry. I didn't know if you to interrupt, Bill. I just had a question about that because I have not used the police portal, but I have used the DPW one, and Scott is very responsive. My concern about that, and I don't know if other people would have this concern, is when you submit the request, it's not from your email, it's from a form. So it goes in and then you sort of lose track of it. So I tend to just email Scott directly. So I have a track of the email. So I have a record of the email that I sent. I don't know if Scott and the chief, if you've heard any other residents concerned about that they don't have a record of a request or a concern that they sent in.
No, We
Okay.
haven't, but we track them. I mean, we know of the requests that come in. But I don't have the luxury of having people to sit there and track and respond all the time. It's
There
just
may be an
No, I
option.
understand. Yeah.
There may be an IT option that when the email goes out to the user group through the web portal, a confirmation email goes back to the resident, and having it contain the body of the concern may be a possibility. I would think it is. But that's certainly a request we can put into our IT department and see if, they send the email, they do the web form, it comes to staff, and then the auto reply goes to the resident that says, thank you for your email. It's been forwarded. Please see the email content below. Something like that, maybe.
Yeah, that would be great. That would be great.
See if I can get that taken care of.
Thank you, Scott.
excellent.
Brian, I saw your hand go up really quick and then come down. Was that just an accidental click?
No, Scott took care of it.
Okay.
He said what I was going to say. Is that, and then presumably whatever emails we got in, excuse me, would come up in some sort of correspondence style section at this meeting whenever we have it.
Yeah, I guess how to handle it after it comes in is the next topic, and whether it's staff putting it on an agenda item and the committee can then consider it at their next regularly scheduled meeting for response or action. That may be an approach. I'm not sure. I guess it's up to the committee on how you want to handle it thereafter.
Yeah, and one of the things Scott mentioned a little bit earlier, I know there are a couple people that have not served on committees or boards before. We cannot, through email, discuss anything that comes in. It has to be discussed in an open meeting. So that can get a little tricky, especially for the first time. I know it got me a couple times when I first got on the planning board. If you're going to reply to something, reply directly to like Scott and only Scott or something like that, and then it can get brought up in the meeting with everybody else in the meeting.
Oh yeah.
I have a quick
Laura.
question. So I know you mentioned there's a web form that comes through DPW and a web form that goes through the police department. Would this web form sit on the traffic safety website, or would people have to go to the other location to be able to send their requests in?
Well, if this committee decides that they would like to have a dedicated web page, it could go there, and that would be the location. It would be whether it's a subdirectory under Public Works or if it's just it would probably logically be under boards and committees. That's where it would
Okay.
belong.
Got it. Thank you.
So
Yeah,
are you
and-
thinking that we would add this in addition to the forms on the DPW page in the police department?
Yeah, it would be in addition to it, and then I would amend the Public Works page to have a narrative indicating 4 traffic safety concerns: pedestrian, cycle, vehicular. Please see the following link, and it goes to the other web page, something like that.
Yeah, and we could have it, the vice versa works as well, right? We could have a link on our site to go directly to Scott's.
I can only caution against multiple websites and reporting sites. There really needs to be one that distributes to maybe all the others, but it's got to be easily found, and it needs to be user friendly. It's like, I just don't see the need for this committee. It's an advisory committee. It's not going to take any action on it other than it's going to go to other people.
Right. No, I agree,
there.
Chief. Yeah.
That was going to be my question, Scott, is like, I know there's going to be some requests that probably come in that aren't appropriate for this committee to correspond to, but should we kind of have them split into a couple categories where It's like, it's definite that your team needs to respond to it from an engineering standpoint versus what comes through the committee.
Well, I mean, staff would be vetting that out when they come in. But I'm not exactly sure where the line is drawn between what staff responds to and this committee wants to. I mean, just since this committee was established, since this meeting was established, I've got 11 items for consideration. So that's not very long that I compiled that list. And it ranges from heavy commercial vehicle exclusions, truck exclusions, to speed humps, to, you know, guardrail requests. I mean, I don't really know what this committee what the committee wants their role to be in those types of requests. So I guess that's something for the committee to determine. And as Chief indicated, it's your advisory to the select board. I don't know what that means when somebody says, I want a guardrail here, or I want a truck exclusion here.
Right. And, you know, from my background, I know that, you know, just because you want a guardrail, it doesn't necessarily mean that a guardrail is a safe thing to do, or, you know, in any event, you know, some of these treatments aren't always the correct treatment. You might think they are, but, you know, there's a whole process behind it to decide whether it's the right treatment or not. And that's where things can kind of get a little bit sticky for, you know, us being advisory.
What happens currently is a request, or prior to this committee, a request would come in. I want a guardrail here. I review and evaluate the warrant, whether it's an appropriate roadside treatment. I would get it to an engineer or assistant director, have a second set of eyes review it for quality control checking, get it to the chief. In the event it's another topic that would be more under public safety, and then get a response out to the resident. Often the answer is no, because like you said, it's very specific needs that warrant a stop sign or a guardrail. And my expectation would be the resident may seek advice from this committee when the answer is no. So I'm not exactly sure where your role as a committee and my role as professional staff are separated when it comes to inquiries like that.
Yeah.
Yeah, and I think that's one of those things that, you know, we're just going to have to work out over time, right? We'll figure out a process and how all of this will get funneled through. I think the initial steps, though, are, you know, we need to get an idea of, you know, how many inquiries are we going to get, because there's a big difference between, you know, 10 in a week and 100 in a week. And Scott, if you're getting 100 in a week, I don't know that even your staff could handle that, right? And at that point, we may have to look at something dedicated, but we're just not going to. At this point, we just don't know.
Okay. So just backtracking a little bit, was the decision that we want a dedicated web page with a form under this committee, or?
I don't know. I think my recommendation, I'm going to, you know, sort of put it out to everyone else, but my recommendation would be that we utilize yours for now and see what type of requests we get in. And if it becomes too overwhelming, then, you know, maybe we do need to look at something. But to the Chief's point, I don't want, you know, oh, if you want this, then you got to go to this site, and this, you've got to go to that site, right? You get too many sites, it gets too confusing for people to understand where they're supposed to go to make the request.
Everything comes through one portal through DPW with a pull down menu. You know, is it a stop sign? Is it speeding? Is it, you know, road hazard? Is it a tree hazard? Is it this? We'll have a traffic safety one in there as well, but not everything fits in clean little baskets. So we're shuffling things around often, but I'll make sure we have something clear on the DPW site that this is for traffic safety concerns or committee topics.
Okay. Does that work for everyone else?
I agree with you, Bill. I think that that's the best choice to keep things simple. And then inquiries that might come to our page directly that belong with dedicated staff won't be lost in the mix.
Okay. Do we need to make any motion or anything for that, Scott, or we're just going to do it?
Oh, I got my marching orders. So I got you.
Thank you. I appreciate it. Okay, so number 4 on the agenda is future meetings. I guess first off, what we probably need to decide is how often. My initial thought, at least to get us started, is once a month. I don't know what everyone else's thoughts are on that.
I think till we get going,
Suggestions?
I think till we get, off the ground and running with a good process, I think probably once a month is our best bet.
Okay, anyone else?
That works for me.
So then I guess my next question is there a day of the week that works best for everybody? I know, Laura, you have select board on Mondays and I have planning board on Tuesdays, but it's every other. So I think yours is the 2nd and 4th Monday and mine is the 1st and 3rd Tuesday. Does anyone else have any days of the week that work better than others?
Probably any day except Thursday for me.
Okay.
Yeah, me too.
Thursday night football.
Gotta have your
Yeah.
priorities.
So, Bill, your planning board is the 1st and 3rd?
1st and 3rd Tuesdays.
1st and 3rd Tuesday.
Right. So if we were to do like the 2nd Tuesday of the month,
That would probably be good, I think.
does that work for everybody?
That would be great.
That works for me.
Is the 6 o'clock acceptable to everyone? Or was that hard to make?
That's fine for me.
Yeah, I think while we're remote, I think it's fine. Maybe, if we go back to an in-person scenario, maybe bumping it up to 6:30 or 7 might make more sense. But for now, I think we can keep the 6 unless anyone has an objection to that. Okay, so the 2nd Tuesday of every month at 6 p.m. Is there anything else anyone wants to go over?
I expect to, through the chair, I expect to send out upcoming meeting agendas earlier than normal, because, for example, the next one I'm gonna have so far 11 items for consideration. I don't want to give that to you 48 hours before the meeting and with an expectation that you're gonna be able to discuss it.
Right.
So, I'll add to the agenda as we approach the day, but expect to receive them probably a week beforehand.
Yeah, and I was going to say, maybe we should set the expectation now. And I know we do this on the planning board is, we'll consider anything that comes in up to a week before our meeting date. Anything after that, we just don't have time to be able to be able to review and give it the proper, it'll just have to wait for the next meeting. What does everyone else think of that?
Sounds fair.
Yeah.
And if we put that on the site, so that way, Scott, so that way everyone's aware of it, there's no question on, oh, well, you didn't get to my item.
People are still going to say that though, but
Yeah, but at least we can point them somewhere, right? So,
fine.
Yeah, right to the committee. You guys did it.
We're sending them to your office, Scott.
That's where they come anyway.
Related, I guess. Are we going to have an invitation to speak in future? This is my first experience with the Northborough, so I don't know what's customary around here.
you mean for the public to speak?
Yeah. In addition, obviously, to the web form we discussed.
Yeah, I'm open to that. What my concern is that, we would want to keep it to items that are going to be discussed that day or that meeting, right? I wouldn't want somebody to submit something, you know, the Sunday before we're about to meet and then bring it up in a public
Right.
forum.
I mean, but
Right.
that's where you would have the thing to point to and fall back on and say, look, we cannot possibly talk about this intelligently right now. So
Right.
thank you for bringing it to our attention, and we'll look at it for next time.
Mr. Chairman,
Yeah.
we could possibly address that concern by removing any other business that may legally come before the committee. We remove that from the agenda. I mean, with that on the agenda, somebody can bring something up to the committee that's under their purview, as long as it's or whatever they want, as long as it's under your purview. So if I remove that, then you're right, we stick to the agenda items, period.
Yeah, but I am completely open to having, you know, whoever is, you know, either bringing that specific item to us or anyone who wants to speak to that specific item. I have no problem with somebody coming in and speaking.
Okay.
Scott, I know you have more experience with that than I do. Does that sound valid, or is there any concerns with doing public?
I think you would have a difficult time justifying not allowing somebody to speak on their own behalf with an inquiry.
Right.
So yes, I think public comment should be added to the agenda. It doesn't have to be an agenda item. We can just indicate that, you know, like the select board chair does. You know, if you have something to comment on your agenda item, you're available to. So that makes sense.
Okay. Thanks for bringing that up, Brian. Anything else? Okay. I guess at this point, if there's nothing else coming in front of the committee, I'll entertain a motion to adjourn.
So moved.
Is there a second?
I'll second it.
Okay. Moved by Brian, seconded by Chris. Roll call vote. Rachel?
Aye.
Kate?
Aye.
Brian?
Aye.
Chris?
Aye.
And I'm an aye. It's unanimous. Thank you, everyone. Have a good night.